blasting into the new year with issue number 4 of Nintendo Power, released on January and February of 1989. And what a way to cap off the new year with the cover game for the issue, none other than Zelda 2: Adventure of Link. While Zelda 2 was a huge departure from the first game, it still brought a ton of fans joy to see that there was going to be a new sequel they would dive into for the Zelda franchise. While it and Skyward Sword are considered by some to be the black sheep of the Zelda family, Zelda 2 would still sell very well hot off the heels of the first installment. Whichever side of the fence you are about the game itself, you can agree that this cover is very questionable at that. First thing to note is that Link himself is missing his signature green hat. Probably rushed himself to get dressed for his adventure, and you could tell that he did because he got everything else on, including what looks to be chainmail? Or could that be a ripped up fishnet? Aside from that, it's a pretty good attempt, but wait, he brought the Guardian enemies from Zelda Breath of the Wild into the room. For being the supposed savior of Hyrule and all, that wasn't such a smart move on his part, considering Zelda could actually be caught in the crossfire from those beams that you could see pointing at his shield right now. Heck, he was probably still fighting him at the time, because the Master Sword is still glowing. I know that you were just trying to check up on her and all, Link, but maybe consider the fact that there's not any enemies around before getting in there. Other featured titles for the month are WrestleMania by LJN, Sesame Street by High-Tech, Skater Die and Metal Gear by Ultra, Marble Madness by Milton Bradley, and Operation Wolf by Tato. Would you look at there, a new advert at the start of the issue in the form of a accessory showcase that they apparently call power supplies. You already know how people feel about the NES Advantage and the Max controllers, but there are a couple of ones on here that have questionable quality. There are a few notable controllers that feature wireless play with the remote controller by Acclaim and the wireless Ultimate Super Stick by Bishu. Haven't used the Super Stick one, but the remote controller is okay for the most part. The Super Controller add-on, however, is just a piece of plastic casing that would just go on top of the original NES controller that would encase the D-pad itself. Doesn't offer anything new to the experience, so you'd be better off using that money to go rent a game that you're interested in, especially if you are considering getting the Rollin' Rocker. Oh boy, spoke too soon about the poster possibly going back to normal again. Skater Die gets to take that spot this time around, and there's quite a lot of bad things happening to these poor skaters. Apparently, Skater Die takes place on a giant skate ramp-like world, where two dogs control the very fate of every skateboarder on the planet through various trials like gripping on a giant band-aid for dear life, rail grinding on cement ramps while avoiding obstacles, and perpetual banishment to the skateboard underworld. Kind of a terrible world to live in, honestly, and pretty sure that one skateboarder watching all this is regretting his life choices right about now. Back at it again with Howard and Nestor for the month as Nestor travels to take part on the Track and Field 2 Olympics, and is having a hard time figuring out which event to take part in first. So Nestor being Nestor decides to bug other competitors about where to find the coach to sign in at, and with there being no helpful information for him, Howard finally catches up to Nestor to give him a helping hand on the triple jump event. While Howard explains to be able to get the best jumps in the event, Nestor is too busy by daydreaming of him winning every single gold medal in every category. And because of it, he faceplants so hard to the point of his own head going into the ground. Maybe next year will be a better one for Nestor if one of those competitions is in bowling, that is. Time to jump over to Counselor's Corner for the month as there's helpful information on Super Mario Bros. 2 warp zones and water traveling and finding the exit door in 4-3. A full map and beating the Grease level in Golgo 13, finding the red key in the lava stage for Wizards and Warriors, getting through level 7 in Zelda's first quest, and finally with Castlevania 2 getting a good chunk of the section with finding various clue books, along with getting past the Yuba Lake, Deborah Cliffs, and Berkeley Mansion. While we don't look at classified information, there's a quick guide on how to perform the classic Mega Man boss glitch with using Electman's ability to take them out in only one shot. Quite possibly one of the easiest and best exploits out there for the NES. Kind of a big detour for highlights for the month as they have a big section dedicated to nothing but American football games, featuring Tecmo Bowl, John Elway's quarterback, and NFL football. One of my favorite things about this section is that they got Doug Reed to give his rankings of his favorite choices, with it being a no-brainer in Tecmo Bowl. He even gave a brutally honest opinion about NFL football by stating that the graphics at the beginning was the best part, and that the rest of the game felt way slower in comparison. Seems like NFL football by LJN is nothing more than a fumbled attempt at a football game. On to video shorts for the month, and the most notable titles for this time around are Star Soldier, Bump and Jump, Rampage, Gyrus, and Qbert. For even more notable bits, AVGN fan favorites Friday the 13th and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde even make an appearance here. And to finish up previews for the month with another good round of games over at Packwatch. Ninja Gaiden by Tecmo, The Guardian Legend by Compile, and TMNT by Ultra make the splash this month. The rest of the section being a lot of filler, just these 3 games alone make this more than enough of a read for any reader of Nintendo Power. Also, they tease for the next issue talking about them going to the upcoming CES event. We don't talk enough about the NES Journal much, but they do talk about the earliest days of hands-free controllers for handicapped players. This is honestly pretty cool stuff, as a lot of companies didn't really dive into it that much, especially with Atari. There's also a preview for the Play Choice 10, which was a way for people to be able to play NES games at the arcades if they didn't have the console at their home. And finally, to cap off this month's issue is the return of the Top 30. A big update for the Top 3 is the first Legend of Zelda is finally dethroned after its streak of 3 issues in a row at number 1, with Super Mario Bros. 2 taking the top spot, thus pushing Zelda 1 down to the number 2 spot. Then with Adventure of Link taking the 3rd spot from Metal Gear, Double Dragon continuing to maintain its momentum in the top 10 by going up the card from 9 to 4, along with Metroid and Mike Tyson's Punch-Out staying strong at number 5 and number 6. As far as debuts for the top 10, Milon's Secret Castle debuts at a very surprising spot at number 7, where they would also see Metal Gear on its newest spot dropping down to number 8. And after waiting for so long to see if Contra could actually break into the top 10, it finally reaches number 9 and can possibly go into the higher spots in the next issue. Capping off the top 10 is Bases Loaded. For the remainder of the list, tons of debuts with Go-Go 13 at 11 and Simon's Quest at number 12, Adventure Island at number 15, 1943, Life Force, Pac-Man, Jackal, and Track and Field 2 take spots 20 through 24. And to finish off for the debuts are RoboCop, Xevious, and Bionic Commando taking 26 through 28. While Contra was able to finally get into the top 10, the same can't be said for both poor Castlevania at number 13 and Mega Man at 19. We'll have to wait and see what happens next month, but considering there's going to be some more debuts, it may be a much more worse uphill battle for both those games. With 1989 being a brand new year for Nintendo, this would be a great issue to get fans excited for what was coming to the NES and for what Nintendo was about to cook up. And with CES taking center stage next issue, issue number 5 will most certainly be a must-see for sure.